Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Welcome, friends, to episode 33 of Color of Magic, your Magic podcast, where we try to raise the profile of those that are less visible in the gaming community. I am your host, Daquan Watson, and as usual, I've got my buddy right here in tow, Brian Allen. How you doing, dude?
33. Was that Tony Dorsett? Was Tony Dorsett 33?
I believe he was. I believe he was.
Yeah, we are. I mean, thanks to everybody. We have seen just amazing response in the course of 33 weeks, which is, in the grand scheme of things, not a lot of time in the world of content creation.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking, it's only been, what is that, like 8 months?
Yeah.
Not even 8 months. What is that? Yeah, I think it is about that long.
I was not paired to any math this evening.
Yeah, no joke. It's been a rough time. 7 months, I guess, but it's been interesting. You know, we've had a lot of positive comments come through. We've had a lot of feedback, and we've learned a lot in that amount of time. Speaking of, today we're trying something totally new. So some of you will be watching this on YouTube. We're not quite prepared to go live with it yet, but you will at least get this recorded episode up, and we may start just doing this where we have them weekly. But whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this, please give us some comments and let us know what you think. If it affected the quality of the show, if you liked having the visuals on YouTube versus just the audio, let us know, because this is something we're kind of interested in, and just making a better product for everybody. Because, you know, we got to try so we can fail, because you learn from your failures.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. So do you want to share the good news with everybody?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you probably see this little logo right in the middle of your screen there. That is for Cardsphere, who is a sponsor of both this show and other content that we're working on. We'll be doing some writing for them. We will be promoting their website, and they are helping get our name out there in front of more people. So this is kind of cool. I mean, because I wasn't expecting for us to get any sponsorship, at least for another probably 6 to 9 months, as we tried to grow the show. And we had Efren on the show, man, about 10 episodes ago now, actually, I guess. It was a while ago. And, you know, we learned about their company, and we're really into it. I even set up an account on their website. And, you know, they reached out to us and were like, hey, have you thought about sponsors? And I was like, yeah, I have. I assumed everybody's going to say no until either we got a bunch of downloads a week on the show, or, you know, one of our YouTube pages or something blew up. So yeah, it's really cool, man. And so how exciting is that for us, man? It's crazy.
Like you were saying, you know, we didn't expect it yet, because according, you know, certainly everything I've read and watched, it wouldn't even be time necessarily to expect that yet. You expect to get at least certain numerical milestones, and it's happening way faster than what we thought it would happen. So that's exciting. And again, thanks to everybody who's been supporting us throughout this journey.
Yeah, you know, and I even say, like, personally, I had even just reached out to find out, because, you know, even on my personal YouTube channel, I do some reviews of different products and stuff. So I reached out to a few and was like, hey, what would it take for you to sponsor somebody or whatever? And most of them are like, oh, you need to have like 5,000 subs or 4,000 weekly downloads or whatever, right? There's really high numbers that are in some cases double or more, whatever, you know, we're doing. So I was like, okay, cool. Then that's probably like a year plus away. I'm not even going to worry about it. And then this happened, which is super exciting, like super fun. So hopefully, if you haven't, check out their website. I'm going to try to remember to include all the links as I get adjusted to now having a sponsor. But yeah, check out their website. They are one of the coolest and easiest ways to offload cards. One of the things I will say, which I will have a walkthrough video of my first experience on their website as well. So they may be up at the same time you're watching this. If not, it'll be like the next day. I have a lot of stuff going on, obviously. But what's cool is, you know, you're generally going to get more than you would selling it to a buy list of one of the big vendors. You might get slightly less than you would selling it through eBay or using PayPal and all that stuff, because you have all those fees and everything else though. So that's a different thing. Or if you have a TCGPlayer store. But you also don't have to wait. Like if you put someone TCGPlayer, you have to post it, hope somebody wants to buy from you, whatever. You put it on eBay, you have to wait like a week for everything to go, then the person to pay you. Like this, you literally put in your list of things you have that you want to get rid of, and then you can even adjust like what percentage of the market price you're willing to sell it for. So if you're good getting 75 to 80%, you can put that in there. If you only want to sell it for 100%, you can put that in there. And then same thing for cards you're looking for. Then their system just matches you up with people. So when a person is looking for a card on your list that you have, you can go through and see who's paying the most for it or whatever. Cool, you hit review it, you pack it up, you send it to them, their money goes to escrow with Cardsphere. When they get the card, you get paid, they take 1%. That is literally it. You don't have to do any work. It is amazing. and it's a free service. So go check it out, go sign up. If they have something in the notes, just tell them that we sent you.
Also, if you would like to support, and do business with minority business owners, which is a thing we talk about all the time. As we say, we don't want to take away from anybody. We just want everybody, to be able to have the same opportunities.
That's true. I think that's one of the things, and I think Efren mentioned it, that people don't realize is their company is effectively 66% minority owned. They have basically 3 owners, 2 of which are minorities. So definitely a company you can support from that standpoint as well if you're curious. So definitely check that out.
I know Daquan, how rare would you say that is in this industry?
Oh, very. I mean, of the even just game store, or I would say game stores, game manufacturers, even if you want to get down to like writers, creators, whatever, like minorities make up probably under 15% currently, I would say, of those jobs. I mean, I've told you before on the show, like I went to events for years where I was one of like up to 5 at those events. Sometimes I was the one, like, and again, I'm not, yeah, I'm not blaming anybody, just the way the industry has built up, over time. And I can say the majority of my interactions have also been positive. It's just there's just no representation. So this is an opportunity to help one of those companies out. A good thing is too, and I cover this in my video, but it's one of the best places to offload what normally you would consider bulk. Cards that are like 50 cents to $1.50, because it's not really worth putting those on the auction sites and whatnot, because after paying your fees and wherever, you don't make hardly anything. But here, it's so cool because people are looking for a lot of those cards. So you can just add those to orders. The other cool thing is, like, I may not have stuff on my halves list that I just happen to own, because I don't know, maybe I'm just lazy, right? So I have my 8 or 10 cards on there I'm looking to sell. I see somebody paying within a price range that I'm willing to get rid of it for. I can click on that person's name and see other things that they're also looking for. And then I can one click add those to my halves list so I can include that on that order and then take care of them and do it all at once. So it's super awesome. Like you don't even, like, it literally tells you what people want from things you might have. And then you can just build the order right then and take care of the whole thing. It's amazing. It's amazing. I don't know. I like, honestly, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I'm a little sad because I'd heard of them before Efren was on the show, and I just hadn't taken the time to go and set up and use the site. And now I'm wondering, especially with all like the collections I've bought and everything else and things I've offloaded, how much extra money could I have made, even on just like the 50 cent to $1 stuff, trading through that site, than, just bulk offloading it somewhere. Or hell, throwing it away.
Yeah. I got to look at that too, because we're contemplating moving in the near future. So I'm going to have a bunch of, we're in the process of Marie Kondoing the house and trying to get rid of everything we don't want to take to the new place.
You know what's funny? One of the funniest things I saw on Twitter last week was Brian Gottlieb from the Arena Decklist podcast, which are also very good. If you're not listening to them, you probably should, and follow them on Twitter. He posted up, like, he wanted to make an announcement that he finally has all of his cards organized. Wow. And then he followed that up with posting, The best part is now when my wife asks me what would it take to organize my cards, I could literally say a global pandemic.
I think
I was
that's
like,
been not necessarily with cards, just with lots of things. It's been that way when you were locked up in the house for a while. You aren't doing those things that you've been getting around to doing for 10 years.
oh, sure, sure.
I
Yeah,
saw
so
your video where you were, cleaning the car out.
yeah, I mean, why not? Right? I'm looking around like, okay, yeah, that's the other thing too. I'm not a great Instagram follow, but if you want to just get some tips on things, I've just been doing for a while. It was daily. Now I'm doing like every couple of days, but just posting tips on things you can do to make your life better or easier, either during or as we come out of the kind of shelter at home pandemic situation. So it's something I just decided to do. It turns out people really like that I'm doing it, so I guess I'm going to keep up with it. But it was just like an idea I had. I'm like, everybody's kind of stuck at home, and I see people posting, yeah, I'm kind of getting in a rut. I'm sort of doing the same things and whatever. I'm like, well, what are things people just are forgetting about that they probably could do that they're just not? Like, like cleaning out your keyboard and your computer desk, or like I said, cleaning out your car, or even looking for your favorite set of pins and ordering some now. Because when we get back to the real world, nobody's going to want to share pins anymore when you go to the bank or whatever.
Oh,
So just start carrying your own. Like I literally have extra pins. So like I'll carry one in my pocket in my car. So I always have one available. But just things like that as I'm thinking of. Like I think another tip I gave people was, hey, set up your phone so you can start using your like Google Pay, Apple Pay, whatever, so you can touch the machines less since everybody else is touching the machines. Now I literally have to touch machines maybe once, if at all. And now I just hold my phone up, do the thing, and it's super easy. And it's super safe. That's the other thing. I think a lot of people don't know. It's been a feature on phones, I think, for like 3 years now. Pretty standard on all phones. So if you have an remotely current phone, you should be able to set that up. And everybody's got it. There's like Samsung Pay, Chase Pay, all the banks, whatever. Like they all have a way to do it.
is this where we turn into that cashless society that we see in all the sci-fi movies?
Uh, maybe. I don't know. That's a good question. Like we're closer. I think cash will probably always exist for like when you got to go get some cheese on the side of the road. maybe that's what it's there for. Uh, oh yeah, actually, I don't even know. We probably talked about that on the pre-show, so people probably know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I drove to the middle of nowhere, a pop-up shop from a cool place that makes amazing mozzarella. Everybody was masked up. It's a story I told. Anyway, it's a reward for you if you follow us on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/colormagic and you can make a donation there, and we will post videos periodically that you only get to see or listen to. I guess before it was audio, now it will be videos if you are a patron. So general public doesn't get to see some of that. It's a kind of behind the scenes. We get a little more personal with the discussion. Sometimes it's politics, sometimes it's just life stuff, but things we don't want to necessarily, I say, bore people on the show with, but we try to keep it around an hour, so they get a bonus 20 to 30 minutes when we do that.
I want merch that says sometimes you got to buy cheese on the side of the road. Quote, DeQuan wants it.
We could make that. I'm actually in the process of working on some merch for my personal brand, so we could make some Color Magic merch that has some fun
You
stuff
got
from
to
the
buy
show
a
on it.
cheese by the side of the road. If we keep, it'll eventually be a magic card, like a roadside cheddar market or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I've been asking people on my streams, and it turns out people were more eager to buy merch from me than I thought. Because I was going to put it off till I had at least like a regular 100 viewers all the time or something.
Which again
But
would be a regular number you would think of.
yeah, but if y'all are interested in buying things with Color Magic logo or things to support us, whether that's like shirts, playmats, I don't know, hats, sleeves, whatever, let us know. And maybe I could research a way that we could efficiently make some and get it out to everybody. So, Brian, let's get down to business for the week. What I'm going to be, I don't know, it's going to look weird on camera because I have a couple of different
Yeah,
monitors and
right.
I've got notes up and I got two cameras. So I have a lot of stuff happening on this side. But yeah, what did we learn this week? What do you got for me?
Well, online learning, especially in the area of history, is still seems like needs a lot of work. I was helping my oldest son learn social studies this week, and we get to the point where they talk about we're almost to the Civil War, and the actress, she's probably not an actress, she's probably a teacher or something, and she's reading the text, and I guess what they told her to do was, stop, look at the camera, and smile so the kid knows you're finished. Problem being, some of the pauses on these, Civil War moments are just. At one point, she was talking about the slave rebellion of Nat Turner, and it literally is like, and then Nat Turner was murdered. Smiles. Looks at camera.
I was just thinking that. Do you talk like about a lynching and then you like smile at the camera? That's a weird
basically
thing.
What happened. Yeah.
Dude, that's
and it's not the only, because again, it's a Civil War, and you're dealing with some dicey topics. They're talking about Uncle Tom's Cabinet. I mean, it's for 8th graders, so they're not being super graphic, but still, it's slavery. So you can't sugarcoat it. We don't want you to sugarcoat it, but somebody needs to get in there and kind of explain where we need more gravitas as opposed to more smiling for the camera.
That's such a weird technique to teach a teacher to use, like just to smile at, like that's so weird.
And in most subjects, it wouldn't matter. If she does that and teaching you a math problem, we got no issues.
But even then,
if she does that and you're reading, Wuthering Heights, we're probably okay.
But I don't need a teacher smiling at me after explaining the Pythagorean theorem. Like, I just don't like. It's such like a weird thing. Like, why is that even a technique?
I think it's supposed to be the kid's visual cue to know, okay, the lady has stopped talking, click the button. And I swear it almost reminded me, those books we read as a kid. Hey, when you hear the sound, turn the page, and it almost came off like, hey, when somebody gets lynched, click the button, which is not, I'm sure, how they wanted it to look, but that's how it came out looking.
Like, I can tell you, even from doing quick edits, like you could literally just have a generic graphic or something you just put in that says click next or whatever, or just the word next and be done, Wow, that's weird. Okay, well, you definitely got me this week. Mine is just, I kind of got reminded again as, well, self-promotion. I'm almost at 500 subscribers on YouTube.
All right.
Which is awesome.
Halfway to one of YouTube's markers.
Yep, but as I'm getting there, I decided I was going to do a thing to tell people how to get, or tips and tricks that I use to get from 0 to 500 subscribers in a short amount of time. Because, you know as well as I do, it feels like half the videos on YouTube are telling people how to get followers on YouTube.
No joke.
Most of them are telling you a lot of the same stuff or repeating a lot of the same stuff. So I was just going to put some different things up there. And one of the things when talking with other people that comes up is how many of them just don't use data that's presented to them. Like YouTube and Twitch both, actually, if you use Twitch. I think I've mentioned this before. Like, they literally give you piles of information. Like, you can see activity on any given day. You can see where your traffic comes from, what percentage of people are from different sites that are coming to your channel. Like, so much information, like super deep. I can even see what time of day on YouTube people watch more of my videos or what days of the week. So
what
I know
country
if there's
they're coming from.
But you talk to people and they don't know these things. Like, they literally just don't know. Like, and I can tell you from having a business, like, I would scrounge and make my own spreadsheets and everything else to try to figure all this stuff out. And you have a giant multi-billion-dollar business that's just giving this to you for free. Like, literally doing the work that the average small business would pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month to have that kind of information. Hell, whole departments at companies are dedicated to figuring that out.
Cities have to do that to see if they're reaching people.
Yeah, whether it's a consumer insights, business intelligence, whatever you want to call it, like, people get paid just to do that for a living, and companies pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
They get paid very well to tell people why they're not reaching folks.
And
they just folks don't always listen, but the people that can figure that out for you get paid a whole bunch of money.
Well, yeah, that's fair. That's different. You do what you want with the information, but to just ignore its existence is crazy to me. Like, and we've talked about it off the air where I'm like, hey, if you see these terms or do these things, or you can put this in your title or do whatever, like, a lot of that's all just based on data I'm seeing coming through my stuff and know what's working or what's not. So, like, I don't even know how you know what's better or worse or what's working or not when you just look at, I don't know, number of views. But even that's misleading because you could be in a situation where it's like, oh, well, this didn't get that many views, but it might have a really insanely high click-through rate.
Yeah.
So maybe it just didn't match a lot of terms that people generally look for or whatever. But when it was shown to somebody, people clicked on it. So that's something you need to know other than just, oh, well, this just didn't get views, so people must not have cared about it or whatever. But anyway, that's my thing. If people are going to give you information, data, whether it's something you're working on online, like we're saying, like YouTube or Twitch, or it's just something at your job or something society or a graph or whatever, dive into it and see what that information means. Hell, and also pay attention because now, granted, this was on Facebook, but I saw somebody share a chart and it had like, the statement was basically saying like, well, this is showing how the number of COVID cases or whatever has come down and we shouldn't have to worry about this. Right. And my first thought was, well, that information I know isn't true. So let me look at this chart. All the person did is they had taken all the states and lined them up by most cases to lowest cases. Literally has nothing to do with what they were saying. They just made it look convenient. So I was like, yo, like, come on. Like, you didn't even try. Like,
But you know they bamboozle a lot of people because if you take
I'm sure it
information
did.
and you put it in the ground, it just makes it look more okay. It's legit. There's a graphic there. Or PowerPoint presentation. Like what I'm talking about slides. They're fabulous.
Oh, we're losing you a little bit there. Looks like you were crackling in and out somewhat.
So, how about now?
Still a little bit.
Okay.
That comes through fine.
All right. Yeah, me messing with the microphone.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, you're back to normal. But yeah, I see your point though. And so this one thing is like, pay attention to the data, but also dive into it to understand what you're looking at, because that can help you immensely with whatever project, business, whatever you're trying to do. Okay, so we had some bannings, which you conveniently reminded me of right before we went live, because we have had so much news. I had actually already forgotten about this being a thing since last episode.
There's a lot of stuff happened this week.
Yeah, for being in quarantine, that Wizards has done a good job keeping Magic top of mind. So credit to them. But yeah, the short version is Luris kind of got the shaft and a bunch of stuff outside of standard. There was some other stuff like Drannith Magistrate not being able to be played in Brawl or Commander, I think, and whatever. But really, the story was Luris. It's been dominating Legacy and Vintage pretty heavily, even starting to in Modern. But in the older formats, it got the boot. People were frustrated because nothing happened in Standard. We didn't see anything mentioned for Pioneer, though they did say they would continue to monitor win rates and performance to see if there's any other cards they want to go after. Right now, the only thing I would say possibly they might go after would be like Yorion, but I don't know. We'll see after these next couple of weeks happen. Because again, we have that Arena Open. We have some other events that people are running online as well. We just got done with the Mythic qualifier, I think. So I'm sure they will look at all of that in their next round of decisions. And I wouldn't be surprised if we hear something in like 2 to 3 weeks that they want to do something if things don't change.
And I feel like if they're gonna do something, I like it. I like them to swing for the fences. I like creativity. I want them to try to. If they're gonna make a mistake, I want them to make a mistake on the side of, hey, we went for it. We tried something crazy, and the power level was a little too high.
Yeah, and I think I'm the same way. That sort of carries over, I guess, maybe even from working on other games. Trying to figure out like, okay, what's the highest we can do and not really break things. And sometimes you go too far, sometimes you don't go far enough. Sometimes you think you did, and then the things don't work at all how you expected them to. And that's a little tough. The only thing I would say is as long as they are willing to act quickly, and to me, quickly is like the first 6 to 8 weeks, right? If you're willing to act quickly, then I don't have a huge problem with it. I think if you let it linger as we get into that second month, that third month, and whatever, and everything becomes sort of negative and people don't want to play and whatever, okay, then you start getting into a problem, I think. And part of that too for me is also purchases, right? You keep people from on Arena like blowing wild cards or whatever from buying singles from different places, to only find out like, oh, well, I can't play with these now. So the sooner you can do it, the better. But we'll see. We'll see. I've been running into a lot of different decks, but I have been running into a lot of Yorion decks in Standard. So I'm going to let it play out another week or two, see what these events, and we're going to cover some of the stuff on events as well this episode. But I'm willing to see how it shakes out. I'm not one of the people that's just like blown up because nothing happened in Standard yet.
Like we talked about last week, we're still seeing a large variety of decks, it seems like. So
yeah, and also say this, I have literally played 0 games of Pioneer. I've played just a handful of Modern in the last year, but I played no Pioneer. I've played a couple of Legacy games, and I still have Legacy deck together, and I have a Commander deck. So I have a little bit of a feel for those other formats, but like literally when it comes to something like Pioneer, I can't even speak to it at all, which is unfortunate because I've had some people ask me, like, well, what would you change in Pioneer? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, I literally don't even have an opinion. I've played 0 matches, and I don't hide that from anybody. I just tell you, I won't tell you something. If I don't know, I don't know. Now in Standard, if we were going to ban some cards, for me, it's not even the companions. I'd be fine getting rid of Teferi, Fires of Invention, for sure. I would preemptively ban Growth Spiral, or not Growth Spiral. Yeah, that's the one. The blue-green card that lets you play a land as an instant and you draw a card.
seems good.
Yeah, those would be like the big ones on the list, I think. Those are probably the most problematic ones. And then we could say Yorion overall, but really the only other card I would get rid of really is Agent of Treachery. And I think the problem, and it's weird because when I first saw Agent of Treachery, I had a problem with it anyway, because I was thinking about even how it would affect Commander games and stuff like that, because you just take the card and there's no recourse, right? Like you can't kill it in response, you can't kill it, then get your creature back at the end of turn. They don't swap anything with you. It's literally just the thing. And no, it's not even like a 1/1. They get a 2/3 creature,
Yeah.
and they get to steal a thing. And now that
Mine.
yeah, basically. But then it was like, okay, you had Thassa to blink the card in and out, so you get to use it multiple times. Then you had Yorion that lets you blink it and get to use it again. And then we have Luca that lets you sacrifice a thing, go search for a card that lets you get that into play. And then you've got Winota that lets you attack and then get it into play for free. Right? So now we have
Now
all
it's
these
degenerate.
ways.
It's just,
Yeah. There's decks that even decks that are just ramping up mana that are like blue-green something decks are just playing 1 or 2 copies of Agent of Treachery. Because just like, well, late game, I can just take their biggest thing, or I can take their Planeswalker, or whatever. So they're just playing it the hard way. They're just like, okay, well, now I can generate enough mana. Like all the Elementals list, a couple of them are playing 2 of them because they can get a bunch of extra lands into play. So just like, eh. But yeah, if you got rid of those 3 cards, Agent of Treachery, Fires of Invention, Teferi, and then, like I said, preemptively ban Growth Spiral, I'd probably be good with it. I think Standard would be wide open at that point. Now, whether they'll do it or not, I have no idea. I mean, Teferi rotates soon. Technically, so does Agent of Treachery. So it's not the worst thing if those go away. But, we'll see. I think these next 2 weeks of events are going to, and including last weekend, I think putting all 3 of those together are going to say a lot to R&D about what decision they need to make. But while we're talking about events, we might as well just go down the list. I don't know if you saw this morning, there was the Magic Esports update announcement where they basically came out and said all of the physical tournaments that were going to happen for the foreseeable future have been canceled. And instead, they have either been redone or moved to Arena. Which
we expected this. I mean, these decisions had to be made. And if you got to make the decision, even, talking about, let's say a tournament is going to happen in November or December, there's things you got to be doing now to make sure that tournament goes on. So yeah, they had to make a call. And I think right now that's just the safest call because as things reopen, It's just the science. There will be some infections. There will be some infections we didn't know about because more people are getting tested. It's the great unknown right now.
Yeah, I think even for me, from the business standpoint, the problem is you can't I got in a discussion with some people, some old friends from Texas that were upset about it, on Facebook earlier, and I mean, okay, let me say first off, it is totally okay to not like a decision, but accept that this is the way it has to be. Like, let me just start there. Like, because I'm not particularly happy with it either. Would I like to see more formats? Sure. Would I like to see the stage and everything set up and and the production? Like, yeah, absolutely. I'd much rather that be my choice. Or if I qualified for a thing to get the opportunity to go play somewhere else, like that would be awesome. But I also get why it has to be the way it is now. Like that is totally okay. But it was amazing to me to see how many of those people were upset and saying like, "Oh, well, why can't they just let me defer the invite till we have a paper tournament again?" And it's like the reality is they don't know when that is. Like we don't know. Like even if we get to where we can play paper events again, we may not be able to have large events for a while. So, maybe they could do a thing where the top 32 or 16 or whatever qualify could do something in person, but maybe that's it. Maybe we don't get to do events bigger than 50 people for a while.
Because
Like
that's
I
how
don't
most
know.
people start with in phase one is like 25% capacity. So yeah, like you said, that's against top probably 16 or top 32 of a major event.
Yeah, we have no idea, right? And what I don't think people understand is I've organized events, conventions, tournaments, and there's a lot of activity, time, and money that goes into stuff when you have to reschedule things. Because you have to make deals with the venue, you're buying plane tickets and hotel rooms and whatever for all your staff. Sometimes you have to put down payments on rental stuff. Like, you're making deals with hotels for room blocks. And there's so much invested in a bunch of different ways. And then if you have to move it, like, okay, now you have to have, usually at their scale, a couple of people go and deal with all these phone calls, redo the contract negotiations. Legal has to look at stuff because things may have changed at that point. Like, and they're losing a ton of money right now. Like people don't understand. Like one of the things that I think is a misconception is people are looking, oh well, yeah, now everybody's playing Arena or Magic Online, so they're making way more money. Like no, they're not. Like, and again, I can't give numbers, but I will say I can tell you with absolute certainty, and I'm this is a hill I'm willing to die on because I know it's an actual fact, is that paper Magic makes way more than digital Magic, and it's not even close. So
And
right. Oh, go ahead.
one of the reasons for that is because if you're really good at Magic, paper or any card game, paper games are designed to where you can go infinite and never have to spend a penny.
Yeah,
I
in some
can't go.
ways.
I can't go into a brick and mortar store and be like, okay, where's your cards? No, just give me a deck to start.
Hmm.
Then I'll unlock more decks, and I never have to give you any money. That's not the way paper Magic is designed to work.
But I'll say this though, right? Like there are a lot of issues right now preventing them from making money in paper, and it's not Wizards' fault. I mean, there's production issues, obviously, because you can't have everybody working your facilities. Transportation issues for shipping some of the stuff because they have stuff produced all around the world and have to ship around the world. Like some of your stores and your distributors aren't even at full staff or even open for business. So the ways you would sell stuff in your supply chain aren't even completely open. And when they are, last weekend technically would have been a big weekend because it would have been a pre-release. You sold a bunch of stuff. Then the following week you're selling booster boxes, or whatever. Stores did better than they thought they were going to do because most of them that was their first or second week open or back open. But they'll all tell you that's going to be half or less of what they would normally do over a 2-day or 2 weekend period doing pre-release and release. So that means Wizards also is making that much less. And then multiply that by the number of retailers that are selling Magic. And that tells you they're literally not making some number of millions of dollars just this last weekend. So for them to come back and say, look, we have to change things because these are promotional events effectively. You put the events on so people will eventually buy more Magic, get on Arena, whatever. And if they're not, well, you're not going to get as much return on your investment. And I think that's a hard thing for people to understand. Like that just has to be figured in. The other thing too is that even beyond it just being a PR thing, like the prize money that goes into these also figures in the idea that people will have to spend money to go. So some of that money is in there to kind of increase the expected value so more people can recoup like hotel costs and whatever, and it makes it a little less. If you're consistently going to these large events and you go to 3 or 4 in a year, like you'll spike 1 or 2 of them and make enough money to offset your other expenses. That also is a thing that you don't have to worry about. I mean, I get it when people say, well, the prize money is so much lower. It's like, yeah, but you also don't have to. I mean, let's assume your plane ticket was covered from prize money. Like, you're not going to spend 300 to 500 for the 4 days or whatever in a hotel, assuming you're splitting with somebody or whatever. You're still going to have some amount of cab fares, Uber, whatever. And then you're still going to have
Food.
another, yeah, and then you have another 150, 200 in just food. Because you're doing at least 2 meals a day for 4 days. And that's if you don't even eat anything at the airport or whatever while you're there, right? So on the low end, you're going to be at about $500 you're spending to just go to one of these events. And that's assuming like your currency converts right and everything else and doesn't cost you extra money. There's so many other things, right? It could easily cost you $700 to $1,000. But every player participating doesn't have to spend that for these events now. Like you qualify and then you log on and you play. I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think just like you said, this is something we knew was coming, and it's sort of what we have to expect under the conditions.
If you're shocked by this, I don't know, where you've been hiding that for the past several months. If any of this, like we talked about, they are a business. They got to try to. At this point, it's not even about making money. It's about not hemorrhaging too much money until this is over with.
Sure, and I want to also remind people that Wizards is doing more for game stores than anybody else in the game industry right now, to my knowledge. And if you don't believe that, feel free to prove it to me. But I follow several industry boards, several game store industry things, retailer boards, and Wizards is literally giving millions of dollars of product to retailers. They're producing extra assets to help retailers stay engaged with their players, get people to come to them. They've produced extra online things for them. They've come up with extra events for Arena on for FNM to keep people engaged. Like they're doing a lot of things still and dedicating a lot of resources and time and money to keep the average store and player engaged. And so our stores are still making money. And that still comes from somewhere too, because again, these are things they didn't plan on doing. Just like anybody else in the world, this stuff just happened. Yeah. And they've had to pivot and they're doing what they can to minimize the losses. So
there was no budget and nobody had a pandemic budget. Our government apparently didn't even have one. Card companies didn't have one.
Sad but true. But yeah, that's one of the things is just looking at it that yes, the prize money is lower. And it's like a third lower because technically they did lower the money, but they also added another $250,000 tournament you can qualify. I think they call it like the grand final or something. You can see the announcement at I think it's magic.gg or whatever. You can go and see it, but it's the headline thing right now that they're talking about. So most of the money is still there. The other thing that's cool is that they flattened the prize pool a lot. Because one of the things you'll see is they'll have like the big $50,000, $100,000 first prize or whatever, and it pays through like 32 places or something. In these events, the ones that have, I think, $150,000 prize pool, if I remember right, first prize was $8K, but everybody that participates through, I believe they said they're estimating 244 players, will get a minimum of $250. Okay. So if you qualify, you just log in, can go over and collect a $250 check. That's not bad.
No.
And then if you qualify for one of the Mythic Invitationals, I think they said first prize for those is going to be $25,000, and the minimum anybody qualified for it will get is $1,000. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to complain. Like you're getting a decent payout just for qualifying. You won't have to do anything but roll out of your bed. You don't even have to shower. You could roll out of bed, maybe comb your hair because you might be on camera, and that's about it.
Don't be telling their players they don't have to shower.
I'm just being real though.
That.
You know what I'm saying? Like effectively, if you position your camera right, you could just be in your drawers and your robe. Like you like nobody gonna know a difference.
Then he said draws.
Like
Does everybody know what draws are? I know it's color magic.
oh,
I'm
that's true.
assuming,
So
but
your
does
draws or
everybody?
your drawers are basically your tidy whities, your boxers, your whatever, right? Whatever your choice is. I do boxer briefs, in case anybody wanted to know. So, you know. Just saying. We're getting personal. That's all.
That was for the Patreon. That probably should have been in the fridge.
Hey, just saying, man. If you're gonna tune in and watch, you just get what you get. We're a little bit different.
I thought I was the comic relief, and he just dropped that in there.
Hey, just saying, we pride ourselves on being a little bit of a different program, so sometimes you get some.
I just became the straight man on this comedy. I thought I was Costello. I'm Abbott right now.
We had to, you know, I was just giving some color to the definitions that we're using with the lingo. That's all. But yeah, they did schedule events all the way out through October. So if you want to go on, see all the events, there's a whole bunch of stuff. But basically, any event you could think of that was going to be considered a high level event, where there was going to be a crowd of players, is now online. So at least until October, there are no plans to do anything physically with Magic for a while. Now, that's not to say that when stores get open again, you won't still have things you can do there. And, you know, you could play your weekly events, win the promo packs, all that. Like, that's all still going to be in place once you can go to your local store and play again. They're still sending stores promo cards and everything else. Oh, man, speaking of, that's another thing. There was so much news this week. I just remembered there was the other thing. So you can get a promo hangerback walker or a promo reliquary tower. The reliquary tower is going to be sent to stores. If you make any Magic purchase at your store, you will get a reliquary tower. Then the promo hangerback walker, which is another Mega Godzilla art card, you will be able to get by purchasing a booster box of any Magic product from your retailers after a certain date. I want to say after like late June, I think is the idea, but I have to go back and look at the dates. But yeah, it's another way that they were producing a thing to try to support retailers. So again, when you're talking about Wizards cutting money from places, like they're still spending a good amount of money here, doing what they can to help incentivize purchases, get cool stuff into the hands of players, and help retailers out. So they produced another 2 cards off cycle to send to retailers just to encourage us to go buy stuff from them. So, you know, I get it. If you're only a pro player and you don't go to your local store often and these other benefits don't matter much to you or whatever, sure, I get it. It feels like you just lost a lot and you didn't gain anything. And you know what? The answer is you're probably right.
Yeah.
But the truth is, under the system, they have to do what they can to support the long-term lifeblood of the game and engage as many players as possible along the way. And if that means taking some of that money and putting toward resources that generates more money down the road, ultimately you should be on board with it, because it means stores are going to be healthier. There's going to be more players. Eventually there will be bigger crowds at events again, you know, and that's only going to happen if they can keep everything sustained during this run. Otherwise, you get a bunch of people that disengage, they pick up new hobbies, they sell all their cards, whatever, and then more stores are going under, and you're kind of starting, you lose, who knows, up to half of your audience if you're not making these efforts.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just the world we're in.
Point me to anybody, you know, that plays at this point literally anything competitively that expects to make as much money as what they did last year.
Yeah.
Blake Snell will tell you all about it. He knows how to play for what, 3 million instead of 7 million.
Oh, dude, the NBA picked a few people and did a digital horse tournament. Like that's where we're at. Like you have golfers, they're getting and not only that, they're getting like the number 1 and number 4 golfer in the world to golf against like number 3 and number like 52 or something. And they're going to go out and basically play a skins tournament where they're betting on every hole for charity.
Oh man, I watch, as I do often, some of the ESPN morning lineup. There were three guys on there talking about which NFL player you would pick to be your bodyguard. I mean, you could tell they were just stretching as best they could for any kind of sports related content.
Dude, I think we mentioned it last week. ESPN ran like a week-long Madden tournament with a bunch of celebrities and football players. I mean,
Yes.
everybody's making adjustments and doing things with different budgets and trying different, like, see, I mean, to be honest, Wizards is at least still largely functioning. Now,
Yeah.
admittedly, at a lower capacity, making less money, but trying to stay as close to keeping the status quo as they can. So they're making a pretty good go of this, all things
Yeah.
considered.
Still a lot of great content coming out.
Yeah. So yeah, no hate there. But anyway, that's a big announcement. There's a bunch of other information in there. The Mythic Invitational will use historic, which is a big deal because Arena's only had standard events before. So that's cool. It means Wizards is paying attention to that. We may open up to maybe draft or something as draft gets cleaner and we figure that out. So lots of opportunities there. Just want to make sure we touch on all that. But it's definitely an announcement going worth reading. I cannot do it justice in the amount of time we have for this show. But
because again, crazy news week, y'all. I hate to think what this week would have been like if everything was going in full capacity. This would have been a 3-hour podcast probably.
Oh no, there's still other stuff because like they did the historic anthologies 3 or whatever, showing those cards that like we're not even touching on that. Just feel free to go look up the list. There's not a lot to talk about really, as far as I'm concerned. But the MTG Arena Open, more organized play stuff. I don't know if you saw the announcement on this, but basically they're running an open tournament for any player. You can hop on, you can earn up to $2,000. How do you feel about that, dude? Like just random Joe, Jill, John, Jane, whoever's going to sit in front of their computer and be able to earn $2,000.
Because we all sit there, like even somebody like me that knows they're not that good, be like, "Oh, I would have done it this way. I would have done that thing." How many people do you know that swear to God that if their coach hadn't hated them and started his son, they could have made the NBA? There's so many people that now for Magic, you can go out there, you can shoot your shot.
Oh, dude, believe me, when I had my store, the number of people came in is like, well, I had this unbeatable deck and nobody could beat it and whatever. And I tell them like, cool, you should come and play a tournament next weekend. Like you'd never see them.
Yeah.
The big talk till you got put on the spot. But I see your point though. Seriously, people that maybe don't have time to go through the qualifier system, but they're pretty good players. We're all at home right now and you have the opportunity to hop on and you don't have to jump through any hoops. You play either 4,000 gems, which is like roughly $20, or 20,000 gold, which you can get in about a little over a month's time. So if you haven't spent a bunch of gold recently, you probably have some sitting in your account. I know I have a pile sitting in mine. You basically get to play. You can potentially play for free and get up to $2,000. Now, let me explain how you get the $2,000. So day one is going to be best of one. So there's going to be single game matches. You have to get 7 wins before you get 3 losses. So effectively, you have to go 7-2 or better. Then you'll qualify for day 2. And you start earning gems as well. Up to, like, I think it's up to 20,000 gems. But that's deeper into day 2. Then on day 2, you will play best of 3. So you'll play with sideboards, full decks, and then you win gems escalating higher up to the 5th win of the day. Because I think, again, you're trying to you have to be better than 7-2, I think, or whatever. But if you get to 5 wins, it's 60,000 gems? It's a big number. It's 40,000 or 60,000. Then if you get 6 wins, you get $1,000. If you get 7 wins, you get $2,000. So what's funny is people have been split on this for 2 reasons. One, people look at that and say, well, the prize money is not very big. But my argument to that, first off, is that just being conservative, say that 50 people go 7 wins on day 2. And I don't know, maybe the tournament starts with like 400,000 people. I have no idea how many are going to play because it's open to everybody. But let's say at the end of all of it, only 50 people make day 2 and get their 7 wins. Well, that's still $100,000 they're giving away. And then that means if 50 people went 7 wins, you usually have like 3 to 4 times that got 6 wins. So, I don't know, let's say another 100 people, even just double that, got 6. There's another 100,000 they just gave away. So conservatively, they're going to give away at least $200,000 just to randoms potentially sitting on their computers. Not even talking about all the cash equivalent in gems they're giving away, which may end up being, I don't know, probably another $200,000 or $300,000 in gems that they're not making. That's a pretty good chunk of chains they're giving away, just basically as a giant experiment on Arena.
Yeah, and like you said, with no, you just got to pay to get in. You got to qualify, none of that stuff. So yeah, everybody got a shot at this.
Well, a large chunk of people aren't even going to pay. A bunch of people have gold sitting in their
That's
accounts.
true. Yeah. So
like I think my account has like 72,000 gold or something just sitting there right
he had
now.
the floss right there.
Oh no, I spend a lot. Like I basically build it up through the season, and then I spend it down to about 60,000 just opening packs, and then I just build it back up, and then I run it back down. Then I build it back up and run it back down. Like so, I almost always have gold just sitting in my account.
Plus, you're making money from content now, so that's that's tax deductible stuff right there.
That's true. Now it is.
See, that's big business.
Yeah, now it's business.
Points to head meme. I can actually talk about points to head stuff on camera.
That's funny. But yeah, so the other argument people have is, well, what about somebody who enters multiple times? Because that's the catch to this tournament. It's basically a rebuy tournament. So if you get in and you go 0-3 and you still have time to play more matches, you can pay the entry fee and hop right back in and try to do it again. And if you go 2-3 and you want to try again, you could pay the entry fee and try again. And then maybe then you get your 7 wins in advance the next day. My personal view is, so what? I mean, if somebody wants to spend their money that way, great. Like, I've played in poker tournaments where people that have an even less chance of doing well in the event have rebought like 10 times into some of these things.
Wow.
So, I mean, at some point, they're barely going to break even, if they don't finish first or second in this tournament. But they don't care, right? They're playing for the trophy or whatever the prize is, or the reward to show off that they won a thing. They don't really care about the money. And if you're a baller, you're a whale, and you want to get 5 entries, or I mean, hell, honestly, because of the time it takes, there is a point where you probably don't buy in more than 5 times, because you're talking about you would had to have already lost at least 12 matches with no wins, and that would still probably take you 3 to 4 hours at a minimum. And if you're
sometimes
winning,
it's just not your day. You just gotta step back.
But if you're winning at all between those, you're talking about already being, we'll say 4 to 5 hours deep. So at some point, you're just going to run out of time to rebuy. Yeah. Like because you won't even have the time to get your 7th win. It's just not going to work. But it does beg the question, right? What are people going to play? Like, are you going to see a bunch of mono red, mono black, like crazy aggro decks so people could play more games? Because like, think about it.
What about scoops? Sometimes people just, if they don't get the card they want, okay, you know what? I'm out.
Yeah, but think about this though, right? On day 1, if you say you like playing the Yorian, slow, control, fires, counter things, 15, 20 turn games, right? Well, how many of those do you get in? Like, say you're playing that deck and you go 6-3 and you barely miss, right? You literally took all day.
Yeah.
Like, you've already wasted at least 5 hours, probably. Maybe not that much, but we'll say between 4 and 5 hours on your first go, right? You probably wasted 4 hours. So you maybe get 1 rebuy attempt playing that deck, realistically. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things people have to consider in this type of event versus a normal tournament. Now, day 2 is totally different. Like, you just play whatever deck you're going to play because it's just, you get 1 shot, and once you're out, you're out. Like, that's not a big deal.
Now I know there have been games that I play where it'll be like, okay, if you win so many games in a certain amount of time, you get this particular reward unlocks. Sometimes I've gotten down to the wire, like, oh, I need to win 50 games, today to unlock 100,000 coins or whatever. So I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna just play. If it's going well, I disconnect. If it's not going,
yeah, but you know as well as I do, like you're watching the clock and there's a point where you just can't get it done.
Yeah.
Hell, I did that last season with Arena, where I'd been spent so much time working on other stuff and playing all these crazy decks on stream, and then I got to Mythic and I just realized, like, I literally was like a couple hours away, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to get to 1200 and sustain it. Like, I just knew that. So people are like, why aren't you trying to get there? I was like, cause I just know I'm not, right? Like, I think the way my math worked, I was going to have to win like 7 more matches than I lost to get to a point that wasn't like right at the line of being bumped off. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I knew what the odds were, so I just didn't bother. So I just didn't make Mythic or make the top 1200 last season.
Have you found that time of day matters? Because I know Overwatch players that specifically go on at 3 a.m. in whatever their time zone is, because almost nobody's playing, and then they just house people.
No, not particularly. Like I said, even when I get on and I'm streaming, I have people on from like Australia, New Zealand, Japan, or China. Like a lot of that. So it's not really that big a deal. It's not really affected. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to this event. I think it's fun as an experiment. I think it's great that it's open to everybody. I think when you really do the math, it's a much bigger investment from Wizards than people are giving them credit to. Wizards is also, in their same write-up on it, they talked about how they're already putting in extra time for security and everything else. Now, because like money's involved, so you don't want anybody doing anything crazy or whatever. So they're taking some kind of precautions. They obviously didn't give us the details, but some things they're working on. But yeah, I'm in favor of this. Now, would I rather it not be best of one? Absolutely. But I also get it from their perspective, right? If you're going to dole out that much money, you want to at least increase the odds that you get some number of entry fees back, from people trying to rebuy or whatever. But I would think if they look at the numbers, the number of rebuys is likely going to be 0 to 2. If I was just guessing the average, it's not going to be very high, because you're going to have an overwhelming majority that don't rebuy at all. Like, they're just going to spend their $20 or their gold, and they're going to take one shot, and if they don't get it, they don't get it. Like that, I imagine that's going to be, I even have the gold to spend, and I may only still take one shot at it.
Magic baller moves again, right there with the quality.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. Like, I might do it just for the content. Like, I might do it, record if I only go 3 and 3 and I'm out, then cool. That's my video for the week on YouTube or whatever, my competitive video. And
I'll probably write an article of some kind about it.
Yeah, and then so that's the main reason I'm doing it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if I do well, $2,000 is great. I'm not turning my nose up at it, but I'm not going to be heartbroken if it doesn't happen for me. So I don't have the drive to rebuy, and I'm sure that's a lot of people. But you are going to have some of those people that are like, man, I'm going to try to win this. I'm going to try to make something, make a statement, whatever, and they're going to try to buy 3 or 4 times.
I'm cashing in my money in the bank contract.
Pretty much. Right, so I think the average is going to be very low. I know some people ask, like, how much do you think people are going to rebuy? Like, now say if you went 7-0, you were getting 10K. Yeah, you'd probably have a bunch of people rebuying 5, 6, 7 times. But for 2K, I don't think so much. I don't think you're going to get that many people. But again, I don't think it's bad. I'll be interested to see the results from it and how people treat it. But it's a cool thing that they're doing. I think they're at least opening the doors. Because, I mean, think about if this works, right? Now, does Hearthstone do a thing where it's a completely open event? Anybody can play, right? Or does League of Legends do a thing? Okay, well, now we'll register up to, I don't know, 500 teams. Doesn't matter your level, no qualifiers, no nothing. We're like, where the doors could be wide open now. So I don't know. I think it'd be good. I think it'd be great for you even playing other video. Like, imagine how cool it'd be is there like EA is just like, F it. We're gonna do, 2,000 person Madden tournament. Everybody can buy in.
That would be pretty epic.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even have to be just digital card games or anything. This is credit to Wizards for stepping outside the box and trying something new, even if it doesn't work. And maybe we get done and everybody says this was an awful tournament experience. I hated it. The format sucked. Blah blah. Like, great, but at least they were willing to take a chance and do it.
And as I said earlier, if you're gonna make a mistake, I want you to err on the side of it. We say in improv, if you're gonna fail, fail big. Just go for it. You know,
fail upward. Because really, I talk to people about this a lot, and I know it's something we don't talk because it's weird. It's an American thing, like you can't fail, you're the best, whatever. But the truth is, we don't talk about it a lot. But some of your biggest learnings come from experiences of failure. I mean, there's just everything in your life, like when you fell down riding a bike, when you first struggled to swim, when you had to learn to write cursive or whatever, right? Like you repeated things as you weren't doing it well, and you learned why you were doing it wrong, and you learned to do it right. Right? There's so few things we get right on the first time.
Yeah.
But somebody has to take a chance.
And I learned in the sports writing school that you're going to get the best quotes from the people that lost. Yeah, because they're reflecting on what they did wrong. The winners are going to give you the same champagne and cliches that you got the last 500 champions you talked to about. We played within ourselves. We had our game faces on and all. What is a game face?
Yep, I have the best teammates in the world.
Yeah,
we gave 110%. We just trained really. Mama. Yeah, we just trained really hard. But. Yeah, man, it's I don't know. I just think it's cool that we're trying it. I think that's really what it comes down to for me. Like, I will support the effort because we're trying it.
Exactly.
And I just think more often than not, like I said, you just have so many people who don't accept that we don't get things right the first time. That's okay. Like, as long as we learn from it, we don't repeat the mistakes. Why not go for it? Because here's the other thing, and I talk to business people about this, that I want to know all the time. Like, I like to learn from mistakes. But at the same time, I think one of the bad habits people have is when things are going well, they want to just keep the status quo.
Yeah.
They're not diving into why are things good? What particular things are working? What bullets have we dodged that could have made this bad? Or whatever. Because I think I've told you before, like if we would have a surprisingly big weekend for some reason, maybe it's not a pre-release weekend, we weren't running any specials or doing anything, we just happened to double our sales on the weekend. Like, I wanted to know that information just as bad as I wanted to know why we failed. Because for all I know, there could have been a thing going on with the local college or hell, I don't know, maybe like in Waco, there was a thing where like what is that? It's an all women's gym. Those are Curves, right? Like one of their home offices in Waco. So once a year, they would do this big thing where basically, not to be sexist, but a lot of like hard-bodied soccer moms were in town, right? But they were out shopping, so you knew when that was happening because restaurants were going to be busy, retail was going to go up or whatever, because they have all these different corporate people in town, right? So knowing that stuff's important. And I think the same thing here. Like, yeah, Wizards is doing well and Arena's starting to get people, but they're not just resting on their laurels, right? They're taking all those things and saying, okay, well, let's take what we've learned and apply it to this other situation and see if we can create a new situation that's also good. And again, I'm willing to accept that it might suck. I'm willing to go on video and say, yeah, played the tournament and it sucked. Like, I will gladly say that. You can hold me to that. But if it works, let's give praise where it's due, because that means long term, more players are going to stay engaged, more people are going to engage with organized play, and more money is going to be accessible to more players. All of those are good things.
Preach, my brother.
And then the only other thing I want to touch on from a Magic business perspective is the singles market. Like, I think there was a weird panic that while we were going to be sitting at home and people weren't going to be playing as much Commander and whatever, that their cards were going to lose value. And we've seen a lot of people, a lot of leagues even starting up where people are playing Commander. I don't even know what the term is. Not, I guess, virtually, because you're not doing it digitally. but they're basically building different contraptions. They can see each other's battlefield, and they're playing that way. And people are doing coverage and doing different things for stuff like that. Matter of fact, man, more news. I forgot. Like Wizards also announced there's going to be an online Command Fest, so people will be able to play Commander online. They have a website they're partnering with, so you'll get a chance to possibly get paired up and play with your favorite Commander celebrities and Magic celebrities. What you call it? Channel Fireball is going to have a kit that you can buy for like $99. It comes with a bunch of promos and everything else. Like, yeah, so that happened. I mean, like, literally, there's so much news I can't even cram it all in here. Like as we're talking, I'm like, oh yeah, this thing and this thing and this thing. But yeah, anyway, so people are still continuing to play cards. People are still continuing to buy cards. I think what we saw initially is there was a little bit of a sell-off, right? Because you had stores that were panicking. So all these people that had their TCGPlayer stores and whatever, there was a race to the bottom to liquidate stuff. So prices came down. Because they didn't know where, to be fair to a lot of these businesses, they didn't know where their next sale was going to come from. They didn't know they were going to get these government loans to help them out or any of that stuff at that point. So prices come down, bottoming out. You have people that are panicking because they just got laid off or furloughed. So they're selling their cards, whatever. Great. Now we've hit the bottom, right? But then some things happened. One, some of these companies got their, well, okay, first off, the big dogs basically went offline. So Channel Fireball, Star City, Card Kingdom, they weren't taking orders and shipping stuff. So that's fewer cards moving through the market, which also means fewer cards being bought through the market. So the supply out there started to thin out a little bit. So now prices go up because there's still demand. There's demand because people are still playing Commander, as you know, we've seen. People also got their $1,200 checks here in the US. Other places got more money. I saw they have like Canada, I think Australia, maybe some other places are doing the monthly checks or whatever to people. So money was still coming in. So now people don't have to.
Australia does not exist. We've discussed this. Australia is not a real place.
That's true. Australia's not a real place, right? But we get into these cycles where now we know people have money, right? So now they're spending on it. And then, like in my case, like I even got a deal from my mortgage company. They were just like, hey, if you want, we could suspend your payments for 6 months, whatever, move it to the back end, blah, blah, blah. So like some people's biggest expenses aren't even going to need to be covered for a while, right? So now they have Magic spending money.
We didn't get that call.
You need to reach out to them. Go to their websites. A bunch of them.
Yeah, I'm calling my orders coming in the weekend off of here. Like, hey.
Yeah, hit them up. But, you know, there's different people made deals with their landlords and different things. So different stuff's going on, right? So things start coming into focus. People realize they have some extra money. So now they're spending. But then people start going into stores again to pick up Ikoria and whatever. It's like, oh, well, let me pick up some singles while I'm here. Well, okay, well, now singles are getting thin because nobody's been buying stuff for the last 2 months or 3 months, right? So now you're starting to see things go back up, especially a lot of the Commander staples and things like that. Like pricing. Now, I will say I've seen some people post some dumb things. Like there was a Worldly Tutor that is normally like a $7 card that somebody had picture like it's for $130. Like anybody can post a price for anything. It doesn't mean it's selling for that. Look at the average. Look at what the last 10 sales actually were, and that'll tell you what the actual price is. Believe me, I can't count the number of times somebody came into my store is like, well, I saw on a video on Facebook that these Pokemon cards were worth $100,000 or whatever. And even trying to take the time to show them, I'm like, well, let me show you the last 50 like eBay auctions or whatever. Like people still don't want to believe it. So that's a whole different thing. But the singles market's actually fine right now. I mean, even on newer cards, because not everybody has a ton of Ikoria yet. I will say this, from a personal perspective, I honestly believe Ikoria could end up being one of the more expensive sets in the next 9 to 12 months. Part of the reason being that, let's say a year from now, things are normal-ish. I don't know how much normal is going to be, but we're at least going back, playing events in our local stores. Wizards is getting back to putting on some big events again. Well, people are going to need Ikoria cards. But right now, people aren't buying as much Ikoria. Or because they're not booster drafting, they didn't play pre-release, whatever. So it's just going to be less in the world. So, and even if not a year, 3-4 years from now, for sure, Ikoria is going to be probably one of the lesser purchased sets. So there's a good chance Ikoria could end up being more valuable down the road just because of that alone. So, I mean, I've still got this collector's booster box here that I'm not even opening. It's just because I don't even know. It's like I started to, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll keep it sealed for a while. We'll just see what happens. I don't know. I did open a box on camera and I put the video up, but yeah, I think the singles market's still pretty healthy right now. You still have a bunch of stuff, and then the new Commander products are sold out everywhere. Like literally every single store I know that got them sold out. And again, supply chain problems as to why Wizards not making more money. They had to cut back what they sent every store on this because there just wasn't enough to go around. So everybody got their initial pre-order quantities and that's it. Nobody got anything else. So everybody's out. Even the stores that are getting it right now, I've seen some stores saying like, yeah, I'm going to get like 4 sets coming this next week. That's it. You know?
Wow.
So they're still coming. Wizards is still trickling them out. But this is what I'm saying. When people are saying, well, Wizards is making all this extra money, it's like, no, they're not. There are people wanting to spend more money with them right now, and they can't meet demand in some areas. They just can't. Not to any fault of their own. It's literally like,
Just can't control what's going on in the world.
yeah, you can only produce so much. You can only ship so much so fast. And you have to have distributors and retailers that are even open to move the product so you can sell it. So there's a bunch of issues in there that are happening. But yeah, I think that whether it's artificial or not, or it's temporary or long term, the singles market's actually okay right now. So don't panic sell your stuff. Things are okay for the near future. Now we can have this conversation again in 6 months. We'll see what it looks like, but at least right now it's fine.
In 6 months, we could be going full. I forgot the guy's name. The Mad Money guy. Sell everything.
Oh yeah. See, you think I have a crazy soundboard? That dude's the one's like always got buttons he's hitting on his thing.
Oh, yeah.
Kramer, that's the dude's name.
That's right, Kramer.
Yeah. But yeah, man.
It's a weapons company that doesn't make weapons. Sell.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, man. Anyway, that's all the major news. Let's talk about our typical dinner table stuff, because we talked about different topics last week, and this one we kind of pushed off. We were going to do it, but we thought we had a better thing to talk about. And one of the things, and this is kind of a very broad gamer thing, maybe even a human thing, but we'll talk to our realm of expertise with gaming. And it's really like, I think the question more than a statement for the dinner table today is, do gamers really know what they want? And the reason I bring this up is, if you go back, maybe at least for sure a year ago, but maybe as recent as like 7 or 8 months ago, you had Magic players saying like, oh, well, creature decks are too good and white sucks and nobody wants to play it and blah, blah, blah. But then like, now we have white being played a lot and we have control decks that are dominating. And everybody's saying, oh, well, the format's too slow, and I'm tired of playing against all these control Yorion decks, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, this is kind of what you asked for. You know, it's like I brought up before, where people said, well, Standard's too expensive, and the Mythics are blah, 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 whatever. But then they were like, okay, well, we'll print the power at lower levels and do this, that, and the other. And we'll make the overall power level lower, so the cards aren't as expensive. But then people griped about, well, now my boxes aren't worth anything, and I can't make any value booster drafting. And you know, just like, so they did the thing you wanted, and now you're mad that they did it. Matter of fact, go back 3 years ago where we talked about doing, they were going to change rotation of Standard, because people are like, oh, well, Standard goes on too long and the format gets too bogged down. So, okay, cool. What if we just rotate a few months early? So now everything just stays 1 year in Standard. And then immediately, before we even finished that first rotation, people were griping, going, well, now I have to go buy new cards for another deck, and my cards didn't hold value as long. And, you know, it was just like a whole bunch. I was like, this is literally what y'all bitched about for like the whole last year and a half. They made the rule to change it. And before we even got through one season of rotation, people were ready to rip heads off. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy. So all of this, like I said, comes back to, do gamers really know what and honestly, maybe, because, you know, again, I saw it on the business end and stuff too. Like, there were a lot of times I would have players say like, oh, well, I want to play for these prizes, or I want to do these things. But then I'd have to sit them down and really explain to them, like, here's why we can't, right? Like, if, like, some of them say, oh, I don't know why stores don't just run tournaments for like $10 and give away booster boxes and whatever. It's like, the store only got 20 people. You can't give away, like, assuming you have some amount of cost for your utilities or whatever, those butts and seats do take up space and money. And by the way, people generate a high amount of BTUs, and when you're in Texas, that means you got to run that AC significantly more.
Man,
No lies. But you have that going on. People using those seats are not other people using those seats that are buying product, drinks, sleeves, whatever, right? And then you have the actual employees you have to pay, because a lot of stores have to have an additional person to either help man the store or run the tournament or whatever. All of those costs have to come out of that. But a player is just like, well, we want blah, blah, blah. But then if they did, and you had a crappy tournament, or your rounds were slow because there wasn't another employee there to help with them or whatever, well, you'd start complaining about that. Like, you know what I mean? So like, is it, and I don't know, is it, and you know, you do a lot in the video game space too. So is it more because people just don't understand the logistics, or is it just because we're humans and we're selfish and greedy?
I feel like a lot of times they understand. They just think, people have like, obviously, okay, yeah, let's say EA has billions of dollars. Wizards has in comparison to, say, some other, but it's still not infinite. And the indie company that makes games doesn't have the resources that EA or Wizards might have. At the end of the day, are they concerned that the company stays viable? Maybe not. If their favorite game goes bankrupt, I don't know how many people wouldn't just immediately pick up and go to another game and then complain like, yeah, it's a shame that happened to them. But
yeah, that's a good point. I always question when people say they're fans of a thing. I always, in my head, I'm curious what that means to different people. Because let's take Star Wars as an example, right? The recent couple of movies come out, though they're doing exceptionally well. You see a lot of people talking highly of them, a lot of the stars in those movies getting interviews and whatever, and it's all positive, right? But then you have this group of people that are complaining about it because it's not their Star Wars, right? It's not what they grew up with. It's not the characters they love. Those characters are, I don't know, less relatable to them or whatever. But are you a fan of Star Wars, or are you a fan of just those original 3 movies? It's kind of been my question. Because if you're a fan of the brand and the characters and what the stories they tell and the things they stand for and whatever, then you should want it to be able to speak to more people. And you should be happy for that success. And the same thing to me applies to Magic, right? Like, I don't really, like I said, I played Zero Pioneer, right? But I'm not going to say F all the Pioneer players, right? Like, if more people are enjoying Magic, playing whatever way that they choose to play, well, that means there's more money for Wizards and eventually more things for me. So I should want them to be doing better and more people to be happy, engaging with this hobby that I enjoy. And that goes for everything, whether it's disc golf or anything else I've ever done. Like, I want more people to engage with it and enjoy it the way they want to. Like, it's weird for me when I see people, being mad that Wizards is doing this thing for the standard players. Like, why are they putting more money into standard? It's like, well, because that helps them make more money and sell more cards. So you eventually can get your 2 or 3 big things or whatever. Like, and some of it I think is also we have to understand our position and where we're at, right? Like, if I enjoy playing Legacy, but I know I only bust my Legacy deck out 3 to 4 times a year, like, that's okay. I understand Legacy is not as big of a number of players. It's not going to be as high of an agenda for Wizards or whatever. But if they occasionally throw them a bone, cool. As long as some people are still running some big Legacy events, great. And you just got to understand that. But like, it doesn't make Magic worse because Wizards is putting a bunch of money into keeping new players interested and bringing money. Eventually, that could be people that start to pick up Legacy. Somebody who starts some Magic related business selling singles, or I don't know, selling deck boxes on Etsy or whatever, so they make enough money they can go buy a Legacy deck and start playing with us. Like,
I know when I dip my toes in older format, it's because I had some deck that I really loved that cycled out, and like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I really like this deck. I want to keep playing it. Now I'll play Modern or whatever format.
But again, that only happened because you got looped in, probably playing standard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I can't fall in love with the deck if they don't get me in there.
Yeah, like I said, I just think it's such a weird thing to see people asking for a thing, and then when the thing happens, immediately jumping to a new complaint. Instead of what really we should be doing is looking at the thing and saying, okay, cool, I appreciate you made this effort and you heard us, but can we try this? Or can we do this? Or hey, have you considered this other option? Other than just going like, well, you gave me what I wanted, but now I'm just mad because it wasn't exactly what I wanted. Or
and some of it is human nature. Like we talked about, somebody, I was talking to a friend of mine that does social media. Somebody else, couldn't believe that, especially the older generation, they could not believe that it was a job to be on Facebook, Twitter, or what have you, and be reading comments all day. And like, look, when people love the service they got, they might tell one person. In most cases, they tell no one. If they hate the service they got, they get on their phone and they tell everybody they know.
Yep.
So it's just a lot of it is human nature where if we hate something, well, you see the commercial like, oh, this tastes terrible. Want to try it? No, you just told me it tastes horrible. Why would I want to eat it?
I tell people this all the time. Like, I am okay with people complaining. Like, we're not all going to be happy with everything. And I accept that. That's just the way the world works. But when somebody does something right or does something positive, like, you should hold that effort up too and commend them for it. Don't just be like, okay, awesome, you did that thing and brush it under the rug. And then just be waiting for the next time they screw up to go crucify them publicly. I'll even say this, like, on a more personal level, right? Like, we see people, and I don't know, I say we. I know I see them. I'm assuming you do because you're on social media a lot too. Is you see the people saying like, oh, well, I want to support more diverse content creators, or I want to find more streams with African American streamers or trans streamers or whatever, or more writers from these other genres. But I don't know where to look, or I don't. But then you ask them like, okay, well, who do you follow now? And it's like, okay, but none of those are any of those people. Like, you're just not making the effort.
Yeah.
So you're saying you want this other thing, but you're also not putting in any effort to help make that thing happen.
Like, there are whole communities now of content creators of color.
Yeah, like, I'm easy to find. Like, I've always been easy to find. Like, my email address, anything. Like, if you want to find me, I am very public. Always have been pretty much my whole adult life in the game industry. So I could direct you to some other people if you were curious. You know how there's the Black Girl Gamers is a group. Hell, BlurredCon is a thing.
Yes.
It's just a giant convention with black nerds. I mean, like, that's a thing that exists. Like, I thought
many of us are dressed up like Sailor Moon. We ain't hard to find.
Yeah. Like, I thought it was a joke, for real, a couple years ago. Somebody's like, hey, have you been to this thing? And I'm like, what? And I went and looked like, oh shit, they're for real. Like, they've got like tons of stuff, right?
It's a thing.
Like the Cookout is a whole diverse group of people from all types of backgrounds, right? And they've got a few hundred people in their network. So there are all these groups and things out there that if you put in the time, you could find them. But that's what I'm saying. You can say you want a thing, but then you're also not doing anything to make that thing happen. So that's also equally as bad. Yeah. To keep complaining, but then never take any action.
Be the change you wish to see in the world.
For sure.
I think Dwayne The Rock Johnson or somebody said that. I don't know.
I have no idea. It was probably before that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he just wanted us to know what he was cooking. That's all.
Exactly.
I don't know. Did I ever? Oh, I don't know. Maybe that's a time I'll share with the patrons in one of our future videos. I think I've told you my fun rock encounter story.
I think we did that during story time. I want to say.
Oh, maybe we did. I don't remember. 33 episodes is a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for this week. We're about 20 minutes over the hour. So it was a good conversation. There was a lot of stuff this weekend. We didn't even touch on everything.
Because like we talked about, and the patrons will hear, we talked for about 30, 45 minutes before this about all the stuff that was going on.
Yeah, no joke. So yeah, let us know what you think. If it changed the quality of the content for you, if you enjoyed this, just let us know. If you're watching this on on YouTube, we will not be putting this on Facebook. But if you're watching it on YouTube, yeah, like the video. Let me know what you thought. Leave some comments. If there's something we could do as far as content-wise, if you like seeing us visually, or if you're fine just listening to the audio. And, hit subscribe because that doesn't hurt.
Or if you're like, God, I never want to see Brian Allen on the camera again. What are you doing to us? Let us know that too.
Yeah, fair enough. We might just have the faces for radio, and that's okay to tell us that too. But yeah, man, watch everybody where they can find you on social media.
I am DL Caesar on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram.
Cool. And you can find me just about everywhere at PowrDragn, PowrDragn, on just about everything these days, except for maybe TikTok. I haven't hopped on that one, so you won't find me over there yet. But yeah, you can find me doing all that and streaming Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays on Twitch, 9 p.m. to midnight Pacific time. And we're going to wrap it up there. I want to say thank you to everybody, wherever you are watching or listening, whenever you are watching or listening. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And stay safe and take care of yourself as we try to get back to some amount of normalcy. If you have a chance, please check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/colorofmagic. You can also find us on Facebook at Color of Magic. We're also over on Twitter and Twitch at Color of MTG. And we have a website you can check out, colorofmtg.com. Please share our episode with your friends and help us grow our base. As always, every little bit helps, and we appreciate your support.